Banon is a French commune in the department of Alpes-de-Haute-Provence in the Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur region of southeastern France. The inhabitants of the commune are known as Banonais or Banonaises. Geography: Banon is located next to the plateau of Albion, some 15 kilometers northwest of Fort-Calquier, 50 kilometers east of Carpentras, and 760 meters above sea level. The village is on a hill overlooking the Coulon Valley. Access to the commune is by the D950 road from Reves-du-Bain in the northwest, which passes through the village and continues southeast to Limins. The D51 goes southwest from the village to Simeon-le-Rotonde. The D5 goes southeast to Reves-des-Brousses. The D12 goes north from the D950 and loops around to join the D950 again east of the commune. Apart from the village, there are the hamlets of Ladrette, and Le Serre. The commune is farmland on the lower areas to the west and forested on the heights in the east. Geology: limestone, dating from the Cretaceous period, is the predominant rock in the commune, although in the Rai Valley it is Barremian limestone. The limestone is used for construction, especially for wall ties, framing, and lower walls, as well as for fountains. Depressions oriented SSWNNE and NNWSSE are formed of marl and sandstone from the Upper Cretaceous period. Limestones and porous rocks allow water to infiltrate down to a substrate of neocomian marl. These infiltrations scour the rocks, causing the formation of sinkholes or avens such as the Avon of Belot. The waters circulate at a speed of 77 meters per hour. Relief summits: the Creux de Bain bank, the Crête de Gambie. Hydrography: the Raven du Calavon rises just east of the village and flows south, becoming the Calavon River, which eventually joins the Durance southeast of Cabannes. The Rai River flows south through the western side of the commune and the village before joining the Calavon south of the commune. The Largue flows from the north down the eastern side of the commune and continues south to join the Durance east of Manosque. Environment: the commune has 2,271 hectares of woods and forests. Climate: Banon is located in Alpes-de-Haute-Provence and enjoys an interior Mediterranean climate with summers hot and dry but the winters are cool and marked by frequent frosts. The annual average temperature is 12.8 degrees Celsius with an average maximum of 22.4 degrees Celsius and an average minimum of 0 degrees Celsius. The highest maximum and minimum temperatures are 30 degrees Celsius in July and 0 degrees Celsius in December and January. Average sunshine hours are 2,755 hours per year with a peak of 343 hours in July. Another important characteristic of the Mediterranean climate is the rainfall, which totals 426 mm over the year, unevenly distributed with a little more than 21 mm in July and more than 54 mm in October. The Mistral blows sometimes, although the town is sheltered by the Lieu mountain. It may be more exposed to the Levant of the Sirocco, which rarely occur. The nearest weather station to Banon is in Saint-Christol in Vaucluse, a little farther away than Fort-Calquier. Natural and technological risks: none of the 200 communes in the department are in a no-seismic risk zone. Banon is in Zone 1A according to the deterministic classification of 1991 based on the historical earthquakes, and Zone 3 according to the EC8 probabilistic classification of 2011. Banon is also exposed to 3 other natural hazards: forest fire, flood, landslide. Banon is not exposed to any risk of technological origin identified by the prefecture. There is no risk prevention plan for foreseeable natural risks for the commune and there is no DICRIM. Transport network: several bus lines connect Banon to other communes in the region. The places served are Apt, Forcalquier, Dina les Bains, Avignon, and Manosque. There is also a bus service on market days to neighboring communes. The nearest airport and railway station are at Avignon. Neighboring communes and villages. Toponymy. The area appears for the first time in texts from the 11th century. According to Charles Rostaring, the name is formed from the oronymic root ban, meaning horn or point. According to this author, the name predates the Gauls. This explanation is also shared by Effie Acute, Nie Acute, and Claude Martel, for whom this explanation also applies to Grudabane. According to Ernest Negri, Banon comes from a Germanic proper name Banon. Banon in Vivaro Alpine dialect. In Provençal dialect is said and written Banon in the classical Norman Banon in the Mistralian Norm. Three main factors explain the toponymy of the commune: the relief between the Albion Plateau and the Lieur Mountain, its location in the Occitan linguistic area, and the people of the area. The terrain is very present. The Pie acute Donru is formed from a local evolution of the Latin podium, meaning height. The Paean Pamian has the same origin, the name of this hill meaning the mountain of the middle. The name of the Puy de Save is formed from the most current evolution in France of podium, and there is also the Crête de Gambie. The Couest Chord is on the slope of a mountain. Occitan derived from the French côte. Other names are formed from the words Adret and Ubac. Thus there are the Adret and the Ubac of Grudabane, the hamlet of Adret at the foot of the Gru, and the Ubac farm at the foot of the Pie acute Donru. The Combe de Vaux is a pleonastic doublet to designate a valley. The work of hydraulic erosion on limestone has created avens, including at least one with a specific name, the Aven de Gautine. Amplified by deforestation, the same erosion moves large quantities of stones from the mountain slopes and deposits them on the plains, sometimes covering arable land. This is the origin of the name of Gravières south of the village. The relatively high flat arable areas are called plains even though they are on a mountain. This name is used in Plains and in the hamlet of Plains on the southern boundary. Le Plan is also a small plain. Water is also present in the toponymy. There is the water source called Font des Petits and a marshy area called La Palud. A valley is named Aigbel, meaning beautiful water. The reference to water is rare in the toponymy of this dry region. The term grange in this area refers to an isolated farm. This toponym is present in La Grange, also at La Grange, and in Les Granges de Dorban. The hill overlooking the village is called La Défense. This is an area owned by the lord of the community, where herds were banned. Le Clos de Garden is a cultivable area where the material from road ballasting was used to enclose the fields and meadows with a dry stone wall. Les Chastellas was a fortification at high altitude, and La Tuilerie was a tile production workshop prior to the 18th century. History. Prehistory and Antiquity. The commune had inhabitants in prehistoric times. The discoveries of Paleolithic remains are quite numerous. The Otuopida at Mourache and Chastellard. At Fontcrémat, a Gallo-Roman villa and a necropolis have been discovered. A treasure of 700 denarii from Nero to Geta was discovered in a vase in 1909, as well as many other unrelated discoveries. During the Pax Romana, the iron manufacturing workshops became established in the commune territory. Throughout this period, the territory of Banon was part of that of the Sogendiques, whose territory spanned south of the Baronnies of the Durance. The Sogendiques were federated to the Vocantii, and after the Gallic Wars, they were attached with them to the Roman province of Gallia Narbonensis. In the 2nd century they were detached from Voconces and formed a distinct civitas with Segustero as its capital. Romanization can be seen in places such as the villas of Fou and Crema. There were several houses and workshops or Gallo-Roman Roman hamlets settled on the plains northeast of Banon in the 1st and 2nd centuries AD. At the time of the Roman crisis of the 3rd century, the whole area was burned. The people did not desert the commune, as the site was occupied again in the 4th century before abandonment at the end of that century at the same time as the Châtelet de Lardières nearby. The area then became an acropolis, and the location of the inhabitants for this period has not been determined either in the immediate vicinity or on the heights. While the southeast of Gaul was Burgundian land, the king of the Ostrogoths, Theodoric the Great, conquered the region between the Durance and the Rhône as well as Isère in 510. The commune depended briefly on Italy until 526. In order to reconcile with the Burgundian king Godemar III, the Ostrogoth regent Amalasuntha gave him the territory. Middle Ages. While Châtelet was abandoned, there remained a visual and symbolic clue in that the border with the neighboring community of Lardières was fixed along the side of the oppidum, in a process that seemed common. The village was fortified in the 11th century. During the Middle Ages, the Church of Our Lady depended on the Abbey of Creux, who received the income attached to this church as well as those of the Chapel of St. Hilaire and returned it to St. Anchabé. The fief of Simeon was devastated by Raymond de Turenne in 1391. The Banon community was then within the vigour of Forcalquier. Modern times, a fair was held at Banon until the 18th century. There was a windmill in Banon. Its ruins are located near the Clos de Garden. French Revolution. During the French Revolution, the commune had a patriotic society which was founded after the end of 1792. The medieval castle was razed during the Revolution. Contemporary era. The French coup d'état of 1851, committed by Louis Napoleon Bonaparte against the French Second Republic, provoked an armed uprising in the Lower Alps, in defense of the Constitution. After the failure of the insurrection, severe repression continued against those who defended the Republic. 17 inhabitants of Banon were brought before the Joint Committee, and the majority were sentenced to exile in Algeria. As with many communes in the department, Banon adopted schools well before the Jules Ferry laws. The scattered settlements led to doubling of the facilities with, in 1863, 2 schools installed in the main town and the village of Largue at the east and west extremities of the commune. These schools provided primary education for boys and girls. The fallow laws required the opening of a girls' school in communes with more than 800 inhabitants. The commune benefited from grants from the Second Derby law to rebuild the Largue village school and to build a new one at Granges de Dorban. The village people started moving in the 19th century. People began to abandon the tight housing on the heights to build their houses near the crossroads of the roads to Sisteron-Tapt, Manasque and Forcalquier in about 1840 to 1880. This new community was called La Bourgade. The old village was not abandoned immediately, as the church was enlarged and a hospital was built on the heights. In 1887, however, a college was built in the new village on the market square. In 1905, a water-jet fountain sourced from the Briar and fed by an underground aqueduct 3 kilometers long was built in the new village. Thereafter, all new buildings, private or public, were built in the lower village, and in 1950, the orchards began to be converted to housing zones. In the 20th century, the cultivation of lavender commenced and a distillery was founded. At the end of the Second World War, the police station moved to Forcalquier. Heraldry administration. List of successive mayors. Intercommunality. Banon is part of the community of communes of Pays-de-Banon, which is a group of 12 communes. Budget and taxation. The regional part of the housing tax is not applicable. The professional tax was replaced in 2010 by the corporate property contribution on the rental value of property and the contribution of value added. Companies, which both formed the territorial economic contribution. A local tax introduced by the Finance Act 2010. Demography. In 1471 the commune had 46 fires and in 1765 had a population of 848. In 2010 the commune had 1,070 inhabitants. The evolution of the number of inhabitants is known from the population censuses conducted in the commune since 1793. For the 21st century, a census of communes with fewer than 10,000 inhabitants is held every 5 years. Unlike larger communes that have a sample survey every year. Population change sources. LDHEHESS Cassini until 1962. INSEE database from 1968. The demographic history of Banon. After the bloodletting of the 14th and 15th centuries and a long period of growth until the beginning of the 19th century, was marked by a period of stagnation, where the population was relatively stable at a high level. This period lasted from 1831 to 1851. The rural exodus then caused a long-term population decline. In 1954, after more than a century of decline, the town had lost over half of its population relative to its historical high in 1841. The decline, however, reversed from the 1960s with a growth of 50% in half a century. Economy overview. In 2009 the active population was 435 people, including 68 unemployed. These workers are mostly employees and mainly work in the commune. Agriculture is still very present with 32 active establishments in 2010. Industry and construction employ 19% of the active population and services, and administration employ a little over 80%. On the 1st of January 2011 the businesses active in the commune were mainly in the tertiary sector, agriculture. In late 2010 the primary sector had 32 establishments within the meaning of INSEE and 16 farm holdings according to the Agrest survey by the Ministry of Agriculture. This number is down significantly in the 2000s, from 27 to 16 in 10 years. From 1988 to 2000 the utilized agricultural area has fallen sharply from 2,043 hectares to 1,207 hectares, of which 1,006 hectares are crops. This area has doubled in the 2000s. In contrast, establishments practicing polyculture have disappeared. Sheep and permanent crops representing the remaining enterprises. Vineyards, a component of the Mediterranean triad, was formerly present in Banon. In the 19th century there were several dozen hectares of vineyards producing wine for home consumption and sale in local markets, with a small amount sold on the regional market. Currently the surface area of vineyards is insignificant. Industry. In late 2010 there were 31 establishments in the secondary sector employing 55 employees. Banon has become famous for its small goat cheeses wrapped in dried chestnut leaves and tied with raffia strings. The Banon cheese factory employs 38 people. Over 600,000 individual cheeses are produced each year. Banon cheese is the only appellation d'origine contrôlée in the Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur region. The phosphate mines are closed, but the quarry is exploited by carriers d'Haute-Provence who still process the local limestone into aggregate. Service activities. In late 2010 there were 75 establishments in the tertiary sector with 75 employees plus 35 administrative, social, health, and education sector institutions employing 156 people. The village is notable for one of the largest independent bookstores in France, Le Bleuet, which offers more than 100,000 titles on the shelves. According to the Departmental Observatory of Tourism, the tourism function is important for the town, with between 1 and 5 tourists per inhabitant visiting the commune each year. Most of the accommodation capacity is non-market. The proximity of the Luberon Natural Regional Park energizes this sector of activity in the commune. Although not having any hotels, the commune still has several accommodation facilities for tourists. A farm campsite and a 3-star rated camping area with 94 sites. Many furnished houses. There is also a significant capacity of 148 second homes. A wide variety of shops is present in the commune: an insurance office, a real estate agency, several garages and auto shops, 2 banks, various restaurants, bars, and cafes, various grocery shops, several book shops and news agents including Le Bleuet, one of the largest in France, a jewelry shop, a florist, facilities, education. The commune has 2 educational facilities, a primary school, the Pays de Banon College. Sports. Many sports clubs are present in the commune for various sports including boxing, badminton, handball, judo, paragliding, hiking, and horse riding. Health. There are many health practitioners in Banon: 3 physiotherapists, 4 doctors, 2 osteopaths, and a pharmacy. Banon has a rural hospital with 68 beds which was built between 1984 and 1985. This hospital has an aftercare service and 20 undifferentiated rehabilitation beds, 48 nursing home beds and 25 nursing service at home places. The building stands on the site of a former hospital built by donors belonging to old local families. It is served by 60 caregivers and administrative staff and is the largest employer in the commune. Communal services. Several public services are available: of CPAM primary health insurance office, a social action center, a public revenue office, a leisure center, a fire station, worship. The commune is part of the Montagne de Lieu parish sect when Catholic worship is celebrated alternately in each of the churches in the sector. Culture and heritage. Civil heritage. An old feudal gatehouse is registered as an historical monument to a walled enclosure from the 15th century remains in part, including the portal from the 14th century defended by a bretèche above the gateway. Some remains of the foundations and tower sections also remain. An old hospital in the old village is of an archaic architecture and dates to 1850. It has been restored with arcaded streets lined with houses from the 16th century, some of which include wooden architectural elements. Some of the old houses have stone fronts in medieval style but dating from the 17th and 18th centuries. At the top of the village is a house under which the street passes has a large fireplace with a mantel decorated with gypsum from the early 17th century with a frieze including 2 lions in repose. The Gouffre du Caladère near the village, one of 2 dovecotes that remain, is the property of the commune. 2 old windmill towers are preserved at Villars-Montsélier and at the Notre Dame farm. A brick factory chimney, which is rare in the department, is located at Banon. Religious heritage. The scattered settlements explains the presence of numerous chapels and 2 parishes in the 19th century. At least 4 other chapels have disappeared. Banon has 2 parish churches and 3 chapels remaining. The Church of St. Mark is located at the top of the village in Romanesque style dating from 1652. It contains an ex-voto from 1864 representing a woman lying with her husband praying to the Virgin Mary. The Church of Saint-Just et Notre-Dame des Angelots. A church is located at the bottom of the village and was built from 1909 to 1911. The roof collapsed in 1950 and was replaced by a ceiling. It has a small bell tower. The Chapel of Notre-Dame du Bon Secours at Granges de Dorban. The Chapel of St. Marc at Largue. The Chapel of Notre-Dame des Anges is isolated on the plateau and dates in part from the end of the 13th century. It is possible that its foundation is older as it is located on a place that has been settled since Gallo-Roman times. It was initially called Sainte Marie du Largue. The apse is called a four with a flat survey and the choir is framed by two chapels. The vault of the nave was probably rebuilt in the 19th century during numerous works which were done under the Concordat of 1801. The door is topped by concentric arches supported by columns. Two statues of angels with speech scrolls flank the door. The bell tower is topped by a statue of the Virgin Mary. The chapel contains several items that are registered as historical objects. An ex-voto painting, appearance of the Virgin. An ex-voto painting, appearance of the Virgin. An ex-voto painting, appearance of the Virgin. An ex-voto painting, family kneeling before the Virgin. An ex-voto painting, apparition of the Virgin and Child. Banon and the cinema. Banon is the village where the story takes place of the man who planted trees by Jean Giono. The animated film adaptation by Frédéric Bac won the Oscar for Best Short Film in 1988. Notable people linked to the commune: Jean-François Pallier de Silverbel, MP for the Council of 500.